VO.
Yeah.
We grabbed some VO, slapped the VO from last week and yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go. You don't because I can't do anything on my end. That's powered up. You just gotta do the end. Okay, all right, thanks. Bye-bye.
I'm done. I said, Russ was like, let me walk around. I'm like, okay, well, I'm done on my end. Like, how many ways to do? Yeah.
You need a wipe?
Just I used his shirt when he was there. I
Okay.
was getting you guys gaffer tape for your microphone.
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3.
One more time, sorry.
Check, check, check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I loved it. I'm a big photographer baby. So I need to be swaddled and carried. It's impressive the way Chris carries me.
I agree. Whatever the vehicle, Chris is.
Especially makes me sad these days. I won't be able to see him once a month now. Our
That's,
special little.
yes, I'm done.
Little getaway.
My Union Stewart days are over.
Oh, you're done with that, huh?
Yeah, I didn't
Your
realize-
sanity has finally returned.
Elsa now.
You guys did.
Yeah, now she can be driven nuts, but
Alright, so
the inner sanctum.
Yes.
Rick's still doing it or no? No, he moved up.
He moved up.
There.
Yeah, he's the treasurer. He took over for Jay Lago and
So
everything.
he's gonna be the one bugging me for it.
Yeah.
Don't pay it for me. How about that? That's what you think.
how you doing?
Hey, it's Jason. I got TV3 up for a 2 o'clock press conference.
Hey, you guys can. You share what you can write.
Sure. One moment. Just doing a mic check. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Standing out in Hamburg. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool.
All right, thanks, Joe.
How are you?
So where do you want to slide this way over?
Yeah, if you could. I don't know what it was.
All block and bar.
Right?
No, it's switched to both you guys together. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the 6th, it was Dave sits out.
That's good. So
Yep.
either way.
How you doing?
It actually looks like the one Kurt did yesterday.
Yeah. But yes,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, go right now.
Scott knew about it. No,
oh, well, yeah.
I'm gonna just track it in my phone.
Hey, it's Jason. Just let Adam know we're checking for the 2 o'clock press conference. Oh, there you go. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Yep. Bye.
Your time. It's usually
And then
I'll just track it on, it'll sound fine.
either way.
How's he feeling? He's moving well and everything?
Everybody was.
Yeah. He doesn't have any more pain or anything? Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Could you, just,
Town of Hamburg, Town of 234. Yeah. Yeah, just call it, Hamburg Police. Cross reference. Alright. Thank you.
Is James rolling on this?
Better be.
Probably that,
You better be.
otherwise there's like gonna be editing two packages into those.
You better be.
There's one that comes up.
Yeah, this stuff would be mostly-
Corey, you going tonight?
To fit,
No,
stylish, is all.
trying.
Yes, I am. I was about to ask you the same thing. Yeah.
I am, whatever.
I'm looking forward to it. Maybe because I haven't watched you before.
That's what I said. I said I hate myself for looking forward to that. So I'll probably run into you then.
Yeah.
And it's hard now to even try to get rid of them for free, dude.
I've been able to sell most of them.
Yeah,
not-
I got some of them good, but some of them, man, it's like especially the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, you know.
Yeah, especially,
I don't remember.
well, Thursday's Florida, but next Tuesday's in Kingston.
Yeah. Like, I've noticed like Thursday through Sunday will automatically go, like Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
We put our extra ones on, cheapest
Yeah.
ticket for that's like $8 right now, like those are tough.
It wasn't my favorite games Thursday.
Oh, yeah, yeah, but based on this year, I'd rather just try.
Hey, Brad.
That good, David?
Supervisor?
All right, I think everyone who's going to be here is here, so if you're ready, we're ready. There is a copy of the presentation on the desk there, so if you need to grab one, or if you want to grab one on the way out, you can do that. All right. Thank you all for coming out today. Friday, I know we provided you with some limited information, and so today we want to provide you with what we know so far and give you an overview of the events of Friday, February 2nd. This is the area that we're talking about. This is Willet Road, McKinley Parkway, and the New York State Throughway. And we're going to be talking about 3 crime scenes as we go through the presentation. So the initial incident on Willet Road at 10:39 hours, the Town of Hamburg Police Dispatch receives the initial call from a resident on Willet Road. The call reports that a female has entered his home and is acting irrationally. The caller then reports to dispatch that he is physically fighting to remove her from his house. The caller then reports he managed to physically remove the female and that she is outside banging on his doors and windows and then he believes she may have entered his shed. She is described as a black or Hispanic female, mid-30s, wearing a blue t-shirt and jeans, and is barefoot. The first officer arrives and is informed by the caller that the female is out of her mind, acting crazy, and possibly on something. The second officer arrives at Willet Road, and the lock on the shed is found to be broken. The officers search the shed, but no one is inside. So they are able to identify some footprints in the snow, and they start to track the female on foot. Now the footprints lead to a backyard where there's a truck. She enters the truck and then leaves and then continues on to where she crosses an approximate 3-foot deep creek and then continues. Two officers continue to follow the footprints which lead to the other side of the creek, and the third officer checks McKinley Parkway and Willet Road for her. Officers continue to track the footprints, which are now leading to the rear of a blue home on McKinley Parkway. That home is 3043 McKinley Parkway. Officers transmit their location. They inform the patrol lieutenant that the footprints lead to the rear door and that that door is open. The patrol lieutenant directs them to make entry to ensure the well-being of any residents in the home and to attempt to locate that female. Now, before the officers make entry, they loudly and repeatedly announce their presence by yelling, "Town of Hamburg Police, we are entering the house. If you are here, show yourself and make yourself known." Initially, 2 officers enter the house. The third officer is positioned on the opposite exterior side in case someone exits. As officers enter the home, they observe that the floor is wet. The house appears to have been ransacked with items strewn about. Drawers were open. Items were all over the counter and floor. 2 officers proceed downstairs into the basement. Now, the entire interior of the residence is dark and dimly lit. They proceed to search the rest of the house. During the search, they enter a short, narrow hallway with a closed door leading to a bathroom. One officer enters the bathroom while the second provides cover. Upon entry, the shower curtain's closed. The officer opens the shower curtain and observes a female who is naked and attempting to cut herself with a knife. Both officers retreat to the threshold of the door and verbally give her commands to drop the knife. This is who they encounter in that bathroom: Lisa L. Haight, 36 years old, and lives in Jamestown, New York. And Ms. Haight's previous police contacts include complaints for weapons offenses and an extensive drug history. It was later learned, so the officers didn't know this information, it was later learned that Ms. Haight committed a serious stabbing assault on the nearby New York State Throughway shortly before this incident occurred. Back to our diagram. So again, the New York State Throughway is running here. So she was a passenger in a private transport van. That van was en route to a methadone clinic in Buffalo when the stabbing assault occurred. So we believe that the vehicle probably stopped in this general area where that blue dot is. Ms. Haight attacked a fellow passenger by stabbing her repeatedly in the head, face, and shoulder, resulting in serious injuries. I can honestly tell you, I have seen the photos of that victim, and they are horrific. She then fled the stabbing scene on foot toward McKinley and Willet, and then the van continued on with the victim to Mercy Hospital. So now we're back in the bathroom. So as officers are making initial contact with Ms. Haight, the perimeter officer enters the house to assist. Officers continue to make verbal attempts to have Ms. Haight drop the knife she was holding. Officers used de-escalation techniques in an attempt to get her to comply. So de-escalation is just a general term, but what techniques did they use? They lowered their voices, softer tone. They asked her what her name was. They tried to get her to talk to them, and continued with non-threatening conversation in attempt to get her to drop that knife. Ms. Haight is eventually persuaded to drop the knife and get out of the tub. The officers guided her verbally to the threshold of the hallway with the intent to safely take her into custody. So using appropriate arrest tactics, 2 officers attempt to take her into physical custody using handcuffs. During the attempt to secure Ms. Haight, she suddenly resisted violently and attempted to get back into the bathroom. She then lunged forward and downward into the hallway and grabbed an object. As the officers were struggling to control Ms. Haight, she made stabbing and slashing movements with the object in her hand against them. This included direct stabbing motions which struck one officer in the leg and a slashing motion near and across his face. All 3 officers believed Ms. Haight was holding a knife. One officer fired his department-issued sidearm to stop what all 3 believed to be a knife attack. So this component of the encounter with Ms. Haight took place within seconds in very tight quarters, in a narrow hallway, with poor lighting conditions. It was later observed that multiple electrical breakers had been switched off in the basement. We believe Ms. Haight was responsible for turning off those breakers. In the other crime scene on Willet Road, a breaker box was tampered with on the outside of the residence. We also believe Ms. Haight was responsible for that. Immediate first aid efforts by our officers at the scene. So officers immediately begin administering first aid. One officer immediately used nearby available items in the house to apply direct pressure to control bleeding. Another officer retrieved a trauma medical bag from a police car. We have photos up there. We also have the actual bag here, and in those bags are advanced first aid supplies. Additional first aid. One of the officers who treated Ms. Haight at the scene is an experienced EMS provider. He previously worked as an EMT and had extensive training as a United States Army combat medic. During the course of first aid efforts, a chest seal was applied to Ms. Haight's single chest wound. Before the arrival of the volunteer fire company and EMS responders, CPR was conducted by the officers at the scene. Newton Abbott Volunteer Fire Company arrived on scene and took over advanced EMS care. AMR Ambulance and Woodlawn Volunteer Fire Company also came to the scene and assisted. So here is key evidence. The object held by Ms. Haight when she made the stabbing motion against the officers was secured as evidence and determined to be a pen-like utility light. Now, given the totality of the circumstances and how quickly the situation escalated, all 3 officers believed that Ms. Haight was attempting to cut them with what they believed to be a knife. Think about it, what we said. A stabbing motion, and then she attempts to get up, and then with a slashing motion towards the officer's face. So by statute, the New York State Attorney General's office is charged with investigating this incident. The New York State Police have also assisted us. The Town of Hamburg Police Department and all 3 officers involved are cooperating with the Attorney General's office as it reviews this critical incident. Interviews are being scheduled with all 3 involved officers and the Attorney General's office. And it's anticipated that these interviews will be conducted shortly. From what it is known so far, it appears the responding officers followed the procedures and use of force policy of the Town of Hamburg Police Department as this incident unfolded. The involved officers utilized appropriate arrest methods and attempted to de-escalate the situation consistent with departmental procedures. This arrest attempt went from Ms. Haight being momentarily compliant to what appeared to the officers to be a life-threatening confrontation in a matter of seconds. By statute, the Attorney General's office will formally review this police use of deadly physical force. From what the Town of Hamburg Police Department has determined so far, it appears that the use of deadly force by these responding officers was justified. The Town of Hamburg Police Department's review of this critical incident is ongoing. This is a serious matter, and the department is treating it as such. Additional information regarding this incident will be made available as it is developed. So I will take a few questions. Mr. McKinley?
You said it was, are you identifying the officer who was involved in the shooting?
Not today.
Why not?
First and foremost, their well-being is my primary attention, and I think providing that information would not contribute to that. I can tell you that the officer is a 6-year veteran of the department, and eventually we will release that name when appropriate.
Is it a he? He is a 6-year veteran?
Yes.
Okay. You talked about this happened in a matter of seconds. You said it was dark. When cops go into a house like that, it's kind of dark, do they have any kind of lighting?
Yes.
Chest light, a
Yes.
headlight, or
They,
something?
they have lights with them, flashlights that they use.
Were they using the flashlights?
They did, they were using their lights, yes.
But it was still too dark to make out what the heck she was holding?
I wasn't there, and I would say yes.
Are all three
Go ahead.
officers on administrative leave?
Yes, yes, they are.
Okay.
And that is not a punitive measure by any means. That's standard procedure, and they will return when they're ready.
Is there any video evidence, and why does the department not have body cameras?
Okay, there is no video evidence. We do not have body cameras. There's no private video either. As far as body cameras in the Town of Hamburg Police Department, we have secured a grant for them. The town board allocated money in our 2024 budget for body cameras, so we are in the process of creating a policy, looking at things, how they would work procedurally. There's union issues, but I am confident that in 2024, we will have body cameras.
What do you think the issue was with not being able to get body cameras? Is it just funding issue?
No, not that it's not an issue, it's just, this is how long it is taking us to get the grant, and then to have the money in the budget, and then to find a vendor and get that all going just takes a little bit of time.
When did that process start?
At the end of 2023, we were looking at that.
So in 2021, you came up with a plan saying that you were gonna buy body cameras, still don't have body cameras. How would body cameras help or hurt your situation in this case? Because, the attorney representing the officer told us last night that the body cameras would help your situation.
I would agree with that. I mean, most times, we have to look at body camera, the agencies have to look at body camera footage, whether it's a complaint or an officer-involved shooting. I think almost 99% of the time, the officer is doing the right thing.
Where was Lisa Haight traveling from? Was she traveling from Jamestown?
I can only assume that's where she lives, and I would say that that would be a good assumption.
How many shots were fired?
3 rounds were fired. We found 3 shell casings.
And then she was only shot once?
No, once in the chest. The other 2 rounds entered each leg.
And that was the same officer's firearm that shot all?
1 officer fired, correct. I'll take one more question.
Well, do you have any toxicology reports at this time?
No, we do not.
How would those be too?
I think those are going to demonstrate what was contributing to her, what she was thinking and her behavior. But obviously don't know until we get those back. So again, this is still ongoing. This case is not closed by any means. We're still developing information, waiting for toxicology reports. So it's not something that's going to be done and over with.
Was the bathroom in the basement of the house?
No.
How difficult is it for an officer to fire their weapon and deal with the consequences after?
That is the most difficult thing an officer could possibly do. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm not releasing his name. That's it for,
How are all three of the officers doing?
as well as can be expected. I've spoken with all three of them. They're doing all right. And obviously it's a traumatic situation. Everybody handles that differently. So when they are ready to return, we will allow them to
Do
return.
you have support for them?
Oh, absolutely, yes. They have been given phone numbers for licensed clinicians. I think there was a briefing. I think their attorneys also have provided them with support and numbers. And they've got a lot of support from the men and women of the department, as well as a lot of thoughts, comments, emails from the community, which is greatly appreciated.
Do you recall the last time there was an officer involved shooting in the town?
I don't remember the date. There was one. It was that was a while ago. Okay. We're good? Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out.